Most people don't fail at getting lean because they don't know what to do. They fail because of what they keep doing without realizing it. You can have the perfect training plan, you can know your calories, you can even start the week motivated and still stay stuck in the same body fat level for months. Not because you're lazy, but because small habits are quietly cancelling your progress in the background. And the worst part, they don't feel like a problem in the moment. A snack here, a weekend off track, I'll restart Monday mindset. But zoom out far enough, and those small behaviors are the difference between staying at 18 to 20% body fat and finally breaking into that lean 12 to 15% range that most people struggle to reach. Before we get into it, why listen to me? Because I've helped hundreds of men lose body fat, build muscle, and completely transform their physiques whilst building systems that actually fit real life. And I see the same pattern over and over again. For example, Harry was stuck in a cycle of starting and stopping. Every time progress stalled, life got busy and he'd lose momentum. But once structure was introduced, he dropped over 11 kg in 25 weeks, got leaner and more muscular than ever, and built habits he's now using to maintain his physique whilst reverse dieting into his wedding. Ben was in a similar position, long working hours, home renovation stress, and no consistent structure. A year later, he dropped from 93 kg to 77.5, completely transformed his physique, and finally built a lifestyle he could maintain even through one of the busiest periods of his life. Different situations, same outcome. When structure replaces guesswork, fat loss becomes predictable. So let's break down the 5 habits keeping most people stuck. Habit 1 is topping up meals with sweet treats. This is one of the most common silent fat loss killers. You finish a meal and almost automatically reach out for something sweet. Chocolate, biscuits, ice cream, just a little something. It doesn't feel like much, but over time, it quietly erases your calorie deficit. And here's the key. It's not hunger, it's habit. Your brain has learned that a meal isn't finished without a reward. Harry actually experienced something similar early on. Those small extras were one of the first things we cleared up before structure took over. Once that pattern was broken, consistency became much easier. The fix isn't willpower, it's breaking the association. For a short period, replace dessert with water, tea, or nothing at all. Not forever, just long enough to reset the loop. Because once the habit's gone, control becomes automatic. Habit 2 is frequent drinking that derails progress. This is one of the fastest ways to stay stuck without realizing it. Not because alcohol instantly ruins fat loss, but because of everything that follows it. Poor sleep, lower discipline, increased cravings, worse food choices, and often 2 to 3 days of recovery. Ben saw this pattern clearly in early attempts. Busy weeks would end up in switching off at weekends, which quietly erased progress. Once structure was introduced, that cycle stopped completely. The real issue isn't the alcohol itself, it's the behavioral ripple effect. If you want momentum, you need consistency. Even removing alcohol for a defined period like 8 to 12 weeks can completely change how fast progress happens. Not forever, just long enough to build control. Habit 3 is weekend reversals. This is the classic pattern. Good Monday to Friday, then the weekend hits and everything unravels. Meals go untracked, portions increase, alcohol comes in, snacks creep up, and suddenly 5 days of progress is cancelled into 2. Harry experienced this pattern early on too. Weekends were the biggest point of inconsistency before structure was added. The solution is simple but powerful. Plan your weekends, not perfectly but intentionally, because winging it is where progress dies. Structure isn't restriction, it's awareness. And awareness is what keeps you in control. Habit 4 is emotion-driven eating. This is where food stops becoming fuel and it becomes comfort. Stress, boredom, frustration, tiredness all can trigger eating even when you're not hungry. And the issue isn't food, it's the pattern. Because over time, food becomes the default emotional response. Ben actually highlighted this during his journey. Stressful periods used to lead to inconsistency with food choices. Once awareness improved, that pattern broke. The solution starts with one question. Am I actually hungry or am I just trying to feel better? That pause changes everything. And once you break the automatic response, you can replace it with something better. A walk, a break, writing things down, stepping away for 10 minutes. The goal isn't perfection, it's interruption of the pattern. Habit 5 is the all or nothing mindset. This is one of the most damaging habit of all because it feels logical. One bad meal, I've ruined it. One missed workout, I'll restart Monday. One off day, I'll start again next week. But that mindset is exactly what keeps people stuck for years. Harry's biggest breakthrough wasn't physical, it was learning not to spiral after imperfect days. Once that changed, consistency followed naturally because progress isn't built in perfect weeks, it's built on imperfect ones you don't quit on. Messy consistency beats perfect inconsistency every time. If you overeat one meal, you adjust the next. If you miss a workout, you continue the next day. Every time you recover quickly instead of quitting, you build identity level discipline. And that's what actually changes your physique. Now, what actually gets you you lean. Getting to 12 to 15% body fat isn't about doing everything perfectly. It's about removing the habits that quietly undo your progress. Most people don't fail from lack of knowledge, they fail from inconsistency disguised as normal behavior. A snack here, a weekend off track, a drink that turns into a setback, a bad day that becomes a bad week. When you remove those patterns, everything becomes easier. Not because fat loss is simpler, but because you stop working against yourself. Harry and Ben are proof of that. Different lives, different challenges, but once structure replaced guesswork, results stopped being random and started to become unpredictable. So here's the takeaway. Focus less on perfection and more on elimination. Remove what's holding you back, and consistency finally has room to work. Because once that happens, getting lean stops being something you're trying to achieve and starts becoming something you naturally maintain. And if you found this helpful, hit like and subscribe for more evidence-based fat loss content. And let me know in the comments, which of these habits are you struggling with right now? And if you want more simple fat loss and muscle gain tips, drop me a follow on Instagram as well, and I'll see you in the next video.